Welcome to this Masterclass Revision Explainer. Listen, I am absolutely thrilled to be your faculty today as we completely decode Chapter 2 of your CA Inter-Audit syllabus. If you've studied this chapter once and you're looking to really lock in those concepts before the exam, well, you are in the exact right place. Our goal today is incredibly simple. We are going to secure those 60-plus marks by mastering the absolute core of SA 300, Audit Strategy, Planning, and the Audit Program. We're going to take all that heavy ICAI jargon and break it down into simple, practical, everyday English. Okay, let's just dive right into this. So, here is our mental roadmap for the session. We'll kick things off with SA 300 and why we even bother planning. Then move through the planning process, the overall audit strategy, developing the detailed audit plan, creating the audit program, and wrap it all up with a super fast exam revision.
All right, Section 1, SA 300, Why Plan? Let's build some intuition here.
Imagine just casually walking into the headquarters of a giant corporation like TCS or Reliance to conduct an audit without a plan. I mean, it would be total chaos, right? You wouldn't even know where to start. That's exactly why planning is so crucial. Now, ICAI absolutely loves asking about the benefits of planning, so I want you to burn this mnemonic into your memory. AISDC. Ready? A is for giving appropriate attention to important areas. I is to identify and resolve potential problems early. E ensures an efficient and effective audit. S is for the proper selection of team members with the right skills. D facilitates the direction and supervision of your team. And finally, C is for coordination with other auditors and experts. If you remember AISDC, you'll remember how proper planning prevents real-world boardroom disasters. Now pay attention because here is a massive ICAI exam tip. Students constantly make the mistake of thinking planning is just a discrete phase, something that happens once, right at the start, you check a box, and then it's over. Actually, scratch that. Never write in your exam that planning is just a one-time phase. It is a continuous and iterative process. It usually kicks off shortly after the previous audit finishes and keeps evolving and adapting until the current audit is totally complete. It's a living, breathing cycle. Moving right along to Section 2, the audit planning process. Before you even think about planning your actual audit procedures, you have to stop and decide if you even want to audit this specific client. These are what we call your preliminary engagement activities. Step 1, evaluate the continuance of the client relationship. Basically, does management actually have integrity? Step 2, evaluate compliance with ethical requirements, especially independence. Let me tell you, this is highly examinable. You must ensure absolutely no threats to your independence exist. And Step 3, establish a clear understanding of the terms through an engagement letter. These 3 sequential steps, they are your absolute non-negotiables before moving forward.
Okay, so you've accepted the client. Great. But there are still specific matters you have to consider before you perform your risk assessment. You need to apply analytical procedures, determine your materiality threshold, and figure out if you're going to need to bring in outside experts. And crucially, this is a big one, you need a general understanding of the entity's legal and regulatory framework. Going back to our Reliance example, imagine trying to audit them without understanding their specific industry regulations. You'd be totally lost. That is exactly why these foundational matters have to be nailed down prior to your detailed risk assessments.
That brings us to Section 3, establishing the overall audit strategy. Let's decode this.
Whenever you need to define audit strategy in an exam, I want you to break it down into 3 simple, powerful words: scope, timing, and direction. The strategy sets the scope of what you are doing, the timing of exactly when you'll do it, and the direction of the audit focus. Think of it as the foundational compass that guides the development of the much more detailed audit plan.
Practically speaking, developing your strategy is really all about resource allocation. Think of it like staffing a brand new startup. You need qualitative resources, meaning you need the right, highly experienced experts for the high-risk areas. You need quantity, the exact number of team members required to, say, physically count inventory. You need timing, deploying those people at interim or cutoff dates. And finally, management, figuring out exactly how you will direct, supervise, and brief that team. It's about getting the right people in the right amount at the exact right time.
Next up is Section 4, developing the audit plan. So if the strategy is your compass, the audit plan is where you actually roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty. The plan specifically defines the nature, timing, and extent, which we usually abbreviate as NTE, of your audit procedures.
Specifically, you are planning out your risk assessment procedures, or RAP, and your further audit procedures, or FAP, all the way down to the assertion level. This is the nitty-gritty, step-by-step roadmap of what your team will actually execute on the ground. Listen up, because this right here is a classic ICAI exam trap. Students constantly get confused between the strategy and the plan. Always remember this rule. The strategy is prepared first. However, the audit plan is more detailed. But here is the really crucial point. They are deeply, deeply interrelated. If you're out there auditing and you find something completely unexpected that forces you to change your detailed plan, well, you might just have to go back and update your overall strategy too. Changing one inevitably modifies the other.
And as any good CAA faculty will tell you, if it isn't documented, it's just a rumor. The standard explicitly requires you to document the strategy, the plan, and any significant changes made during the audit, along with the exact reasons why you made those changes. If you fail to formally document this stuff, you simply cannot prove to the ICAI that your audit was planned and performed in accordance with the standards on auditing. Your audit file absolutely must contain this proof.
All right, let's shift gears to Section 5, the Detailed Audit Program.
Simply put, an audit program is your step-by-step verification checklist that you hand over to your audit assistants. It lists out the exact verification procedures they need to apply to the financial statements. But I have to give you a warning here. You must periodically review this program. Businesses change all the time. If you just lazily and blindly reuse last year's obsolete program, you are absolutely going to miss things, and that is a one-way ticket to a charge of professional negligence.
In the exam hall, you've got to balance the pros and cons of a rigid audit program. On the plus side, it provides crystal clear instructions, your assistants actually accept responsibility by physically signing off on their work, and, thankfully, it acts as rock-solid evidence against negligence in court. But on the downside, the work can become totally robotic and mechanical. It gets rigid, and honestly, inefficient assistants might just take shelter behind the checklist, giving you excuses like, well, it wasn't explicitly on the program, so I didn't check it.
Which leads us straight into a very common, highly examinable theory question. Can we just have one uniform audit program applicable to all audit assignments? The answer to this is a loud, definitive no! You literally cannot use the exact same checklist for a tiny local retail shop and a massive multinational bank. It's impossible. Business sizes, internal controls, and the exact natures of service vary wildly from client to client. You absolutely must tailor the program.
So how do we construct a really good one? Well, you stay within the scope of your assignment, you prepare clear written procedures, you determine the best available evidence, and you consider all possibilities of error. But you know what the most vital piece of advice is here? While constructing this framework, always encourage your assistants to keep an open mind. They shouldn't just be blindly checking off boxes like robots. They need to keep their eyes open and report any significant, unusual matters to the seniors immediately.
Okay, home stretch. Section 6, super fast exam revision.
Let's lock this summary directly into your brain. This boils down the entire chapter to the absolute high-yield essentials. SA 300 says planning is a continuous cycle. Preliminary activities, like checking your independence, are your non-negotiable first steps. Your strategy sets the broad scope, timing, and direction, and it's prepared before the plan. The plan itself details the exact nature, timing, and extent of your procedures. And finally, the audit program is your on-the-ground, step-by-step verification series.
And to wrap things up, here is the single most expected ICAI question from this chapter. Discuss how the audit strategy and audit plan are interrelated and explain why one is more detailed than the other. I want you to practice writing out the exact answer to this trap question today. Focus heavily on how a change in one ripples directly into the other. If you can explain that smoothly, you are fully prepared to conquer Chapter 2. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep revising hard, and I'll see you in the next one.